Is this working? I'm still. Oh wait, did I do something wrong? I just heard the music stop.
If you share your screen, it cuts off the audio.
Oh, hey, thanks, Justin. Um, you know, I guess the trash boutique is funny. Um, every year, like you're hanging out in the yard all year long, working on artist projects, and it's well, let's just say it's hard not to be a hoarder of things, right? And if anybody who's on this Zoom has been to the Revolution Recovery and been in the Rare office or been in the Rare studio, there's just stuff everywhere. Lucia's, zone has just got, well, my zone too. Our whole entire office is just like covered in tchotchkes and keepsakes. It's like every time you walk in the yard, you can't not find something that you pick up and find like a tchotchke shelf to put it on. But I mean, like we never really get ahead of the curve, and it's not until like the end of the summer where we start thinking about Trash Boutique. And you never know. I mean, it depends. So sometimes you find something that is, I think last, like maybe 2 years ago, we found a bunch of Peanuts newspaper. It was like Charlie Brown and Snoopy. And when we found that, it was like in March or something. Actually, Steven, I think that you found that when we were in Delaware. And it was just like, ooh, that's good Trash Boutique material. And like Trash Boutique has always been like this idea, like, way back in the day before we were like even getting paid. I remember like thinking that I could like hawk stereo equipment out of the trunk of my Corolla, and like that kind of was Trash Boutique, right? Like the idea of things that are coming from the trash that are valuable, right? But anyway, I'm like, I do this, right? I was saying I do that. The baseball glove, that was really just, I have a couple of them up here, and they just were kicking around. I had absolutely no real idea what was going to happen, and I was looking at it. I can't remember exactly why. I just started deconstructing it, and when you open it up, like the actual engineering behind it is, I wish I had some of the pieces right now. I just threw them away a couple days ago, but they look like Freddy Krueger hands inside, like the pattern and all, like the stiff cardboard to make it so it keeps its shape. But I just undid the whole thing and kind of filleted it out and realized that the one glove turns into two hands. And then when you just put it back together, it was just a really nice sentiment or a gesture of like these folded hands. It felt really appropriate right now for whatever reason. The tumbling block, this is just like, you always find there, one of the realities of what comes through the recycling center is you get cleanouts. And every time me or Lucia give a tour, and all the artists who are ever coming here are always wanting to get to the 1-800 got junks and the home cleanouts. And it's, the reality is like people pass away and their entire lives show up. So inevitably you're going to get like quilting projects that never were completed from somebody who passed away, and all of their yarn and all of their quilting. So tumbling block has just been something as a design that, whether we found actual tumbling block quilts or it's a cool hip design, it's always been kind of kicking around as a motif. So when I stumbled across a bunch of cork samples, I was like, why not, do a little tumbling block pattern. But more importantly, I had pulled these super old, like 60s Formica countertops with the chrome trim. And it just made sense. I always want to try and figure out how to use that disgusting old Formica, because I love it. And it reminds me of growing up in the house that we grew up in. Hello, Mickey. This is just stupid. It's funny. It's like the other thing that we get at the recycling center is office cleanouts. And this is like, I'm sure there's like thousands of this same, like, I guess it's like Miami or some beach, estate, this in like pastel. I'm not exactly sure how Mickey got there, but I think it's probably because it reminded me of like Disneyland or something like that. So I think it's cute. I think it's funny. I hope somebody buys it because the right Mickey Mouse fan. Oh, I do. You know, it's funny. I collect Mickeys too. I have like a whole box of like old Mickey Mouse, like the ones you pull the string and the ones you wind up, and there's a little music box in it. The old Mickeys are super awesome, all worn, like somebody was chewing on them for like their entire childhood. Um, Dollhouse print. This is kind of cool. Like last year, there is a trash boutique item. It was like a DIY dollhouse that somebody made for their kids, and it showed up at the dump. And I saw it after it hit the ground, and like the excavator hit it and it exploded. And I was like, oh my god, that's beautiful. It was all like these really muted colors, and I just arranged it and made it look like this collage of it. Actually, in fact, for anybody who knows the paintings that my brother Steven that you used to make, they looked a lot like Steven's old paintings from like back in the day. So it was really awesome, and I was just like, I'm gonna keep my eye out for dollhouses. I never really was paying attention to them. So I grabbed a dollhouse like a year and a half ago, and I brought it back up into the studio, but it kind of stunk. It was like moldy and nasty. So I put it out on the roof. If Marlene's on this Zoom call, sorry, Marlene, I know we're not supposed to have anything on the roof. But anyway, I left it out there for like 8 months. And actually, Marlene was just like, you got to clear everything off the roof. So when I went to grab the dollhouse, when I picked it up, there was a lot of dust at the recycling center. So this image right here was just a print that was left on the roof when I pulled the dollhouse off. Oh yeah, this is also the album cover for the album that me and JG, who is our Zoom master, are releasing slowly. But anyway, it was wild. I picked up the dollhouse, and there was this print, and I was just like, wow, that's really amazing. It got me kind of running in all kinds of directions about different things that like you can kind of just set up in situ and leave for weeks and then come back. And my idea was like, how do I capture this image that's on the roof? So I made a little frame. I mean, it's not a little frame. It's like 20, actually, I think that's like 30 by 36 or something. I made the frame. I put it down. I put tape around it, and then I just poured latex paint, house paint, on top of it because we get so much paint all the time. It's like you can do whatever the hell you want with it. So I poured the paint on it, let it sit for a week, and this is in the summer. This is months after this like originally hit the roof. And I went back on a hot day, and I just like very delicately and gingerly peeled the whole thing back. And this was the print that pulled off of the roof of the print that was left by the dollhouse that I left on the roof. So if you follow that, it's a little weird, but it was pretty cool. Party mix, I'll just say that for anybody who was here from the beginning and saw that first little bit of the video, that little thing with the cassette going into the Pioneer stereo buried in the pile of trash, I've been wanting to do that for literally years. I've always wanted to make an oversized cassette tape, and this was just one of those things that made sense, to just go ahead and indulge myself and make a large cassette tape and use it as a prop and then add it into the trash boutique. But yes, I think one of the things about the trash boutique is they're made entirely out of materials that we are pulling from the waste stream. So that's the party mix. I don't know if you got the party mix. I don't know if it's sold yet. I did the inside with like the tape and the little copper thing that holds the tape and stuff. It's kind of cool. Dollhouse, I think I was already talking about the dollhouse, and how that is just a thing that, this is construction and demolition waste. And I explained to you how that I arrived at that. I think it's going to be a thing that I just pay attention to and keep an eye out for. But this was a little bit, this is actually the house that made that print, funny enough. So I just pulled it apart and put it back together. Foam mosaic. I know that carpet underlayment is like the most disgusting thing A lot of people probably totally skeeved by it. I am most of the time myself if I'm not in my work clothes. Um, but it's amazing the shapes and sizes and colors and the range in composition that all of these little pieces of foam make up. This one in particular looks like salami, and there's like really weird there's weird ones that like look like head cheese or some kind of like German loaf that you get at the terminal or something. It really, for me, I think it's funny how like there's so much stuff in the trash that if you just take, you brush it off, you get it clean, and you isolate it in a nice clean white frame, or you float it, it looks beautiful. And for me, I think that that absolutely looks beautiful. Me and Mackenzie have one hanging in our house actually from
Love it.
years ago. Actually, funny enough, Lucia, I don't know if you ever seen that. It was a piece of foam that Abigail pulled like literally, I think in 2012. I should probably replace it. It's falling apart. Anyway, flattened picnic basket. This is super weird. It is a fake weave print on a metal picnic basket. And of course, you know, one of the things that we love is the smush or the crush or the smash. I think it really kind of encapsulates a lot of the rugged terrain and the burly experience in the yard as material. And there's always like little gems everywhere that once you take something, an object, and you flatten it, it becomes something completely different. And we always smush something and put it in a frame. And I love it. People seem to love it. Lucia, you love it, right? I mean, it's sometimes it's just too good to pass up. Ethernets. God, this one's funny. We do get like proprietary trash. I don't know if that's the right term. Fern, if you're still on this, maybe you can correct me on that. It's like trash that has a contract that like has to get destroyed. You have to like take pictures of it being destroyed. And there's like big exhibits with like all the hardware and stuff from these big exhibit booths and stuff. And we've been getting all these flight cases, and all the technology was taken out before the cases showed up. So like the computers and sometimes the monitors are not, sometimes the TV screens are there, but most of the time the really valuable stuff is already gone. But there was this giant pile of Ethernet cables, and it was absolutely beautiful. The super bright, stark colors on a very gray and muted backdrop of Warehouse One, which is just full of dust and debris. So I grabbed 2 5-gallon buckets of it, and I was like, I might do something with that. Every year until this year, we've done like these collaged plastic bales, and all the material that comes through the recycling center all the material that can be baled is put into this big machine that squishes it into these rectilinear cubes, and that's what then gets sold to somebody who will then process that material. So the bale is kind of ubiquitous. It's kind of a thing that it embodies the idea of recycling on an industrial scale. So we've always tried to emulate those bales by collaging all these plastic pieces together. We've done it every single year. And this year I was just like, I don't want to make a plastic bale. So I went for the Ethernet cables. And it's, I hope somebody's bidding that up. I will warn you, it's a little heavy. You're going to need those fancy anchors if you got a drywall that if you're hanging it on a drywall wall. I hope I did not discourage somebody from placing a bid on that. As I was saying, things that get crushed, this one's it's just cute. It's beautiful in its own. It's kind of, I mean, everything you can kind of make it have its own character, but this one, I guess it's sad too. But it was definitely a cutie little woven what do you call that, the seat of the chair or whatever. I'm blanking on the word. This one's funny. So I was telling you about those I was telling everybody about those the trash that comes in, that's all the flight cases. And it's really funny, like the one day there is all like a trailer unloaded, and they all get they're busted up and old, but they all get smashed. And it looks like a band like just unloaded and is doing a load in to about to like throw a concert in on the tipping floor or something. It was just really, it's like a weird thing to see, just like 150 giant flight cases. Um, and it made me think, I have a music background. I used to play in a band, and it just immediately made me think of the days of touring. And so I grabbed the lid from one of them, and I just thought it would be hilarious, because if you just spray paint it on it, like being in a band, every big touring band just spray paints their logo on it and the name of the tour, and boom, that's it. So getting a little nostalgic and doing the throwback, I wanted to think about when Metallica was a band that I really enjoyed, and like, not saying, actually I think I probably did listen to Metallica when I was 5 years old, but people look at this and they're like, yo, that's real. And I'm like, no, it's not, but it tricked you, right? I know, it's so stupid. But it's funny. Damage Incorporated, 86. I think that was, I don't remember what album that was. DeWalt. So DeWalt's funny. Me and Lucia we used to go at it with the DeWalt spoof. Like if we found anything yellow in the yard, we'd try to tag it up DeWalt style. And I think early on, like, Lucia, you gave me a pair of boots that you painted the DeWalt logo on. I think this is like 2015 maybe. But yeah, like if it was like a like a toilet paper dispenser that was yellow, you'd have a Sharpie and you'd be like DeWalt. If it was like a thermos, you just DeWalt. Like anything that was yellow or black, if you had yellow paint, you'd paint the DeWalt logo. If you had a Sharpie, you'd write the DeWalt logo. And this is just kind of it was a funny gag. I think we were actually trying to get a DeWalt sponsorship, and we thought that if we made a bunch of like fake DeWalt swag, they would want to give us free tools or something. That's not how those things work, but regardless, it generated a lot of fun back and forth. And this was one that kind of stood out in my mind as a kind of stoic, goofy taxidermed version of something that you'd never see branded as a tool company's swag. And so yeah, that's how we got the DeWalt deer. And funny enough, we actually had a DeWalt deer back in the day, but we used it in 2016. That video you watched was part of programming for Live at the Dump. We got a Pew Center for Arts and Heritage grant to invite audiences to the dump for programs on Sunday afternoons and evenings when the facility wasn't in operation. And it was great. We did dystopian movie screenings, and we had a performance with Martha McDonald, the Songs of Memory and Forgetting. Oh wait, God, did I just get that right? Did I get that right? Okay, yeah. And we did, for the movie screenings, we did an I Spy, because we were inviting, our audience was the general arts and culture public, but we were also targeting waste industry workers, and explicitly the workers who work at Revolution Recovery. And we presented for them, and we wanted to have like fun games and programs. So like, if they were into it, they'd come back and watch movies on Sunday night on their day off. And amazingly enough, we got a lot of Revolution Recovery workers who came back with their families and their kids on Sunday evening. And one of the things we had was this I Spy, and the original DeWalt deer was like 30 feet up on like this giant, it's the big pieces of wood that hold the screen between Revolution Recovery and their immediately north neighbor, to keep all the trash from blowing over on their property. I put the DeWalt deer on the very top of one of those pieces of wood with the high reach, and it stayed there for like 4 years until it finally just disintegrated and fell apart. So bringing back the DeWalt deer. That was a very long-winded story. I wasn't lying that I'll just do this. Chandelier. This one's actually kind of funny. it's also, I mean, it's sad that like this was like a new product in a box. I think it's weird. Like during the COVID shutdown, I think that there's been a lot of closures. There's been a lot of businesses that have gone under, and I think that this may or may not be, as truly just speculation. This might be like inventory from some distribution warehouse that went under, but there was a lot of lamps that showed up, and this this in particular is probably like yay big, maybe like 24 inches in diameter. The original one, you might be able to see it in the background right there. This thing is massive, and this is the same as this thing. Oh, can you see me? Oh, I guess I'm sharing my screen. I don't know if anybody can see me. There's this massive chandelier, and it weighs like 80 pounds, and I was like, oh, this would be great for a trash boutique item. And it really wasn't. It was way too massive and way too heavy. So I went with the smaller chandelier because, again, it's miraculous what happens to an object once its dimension has been obliterated, and now it's a two-dimensional thing. I also backed it with some really nice kind of vibrant foam core that I got from some Aeropastel advertisement or something, that we got boxes of these like nice bright colored foam core. So that was really nice to be able to accent that. This iHeart mic, it's like a send up to Mike Kelly, the artist. I've always loved these things, these the draft stoppers. They're like what, like functional stuffed animals or something, like in this weird way. I remember, I think I saw them at my grandma's house growing up and was like, oh, stuffed animal, but like you can't have it because it actually serves a function. I might be making that up. But anyway, the idea is you see them all the time in the trash. And me and Mackenzie, we have some at our house. They're just like, they're a funny object. And I really just kind of like the idea of the cat and dog kind of huddling together to stay warm. And when you weave them together, this is very like a very, I like that shape. Steven, my brother, we like that shape. So it felt really appropriate to just take them and weave them together like that. Got some more foam mosaic. Droog, mini Droog. This one's funny. We used to make these little, for anybody who knows, Droog is like a Dutch design company. They've been around for a long time. They make super weird stuff, like totally over the top, ridiculous. Like they'll sell you a chair that's like this, it's made out of steel, and what comes with the chair is like a steel sledgehammer, and the directions are you have to bash this piece of steel into the chair formation before you get to use it as a chair. It's like some concept design stuff, but they make really cool products, and they're just really inspiring. And we've done it twice where they have this really beautiful armoire where it's all of these drawers that are just like ratchet strapped together, kind of haphazard, but they literally sell it for like $20,000 as like a functioning armoire. So we made this little tiny dollhouse version of it out of like dollhouse furniture that we found in the trash, and it's just super cute. And of course, if you make something super cute, somebody's going to want to buy it up. So this year we kind of pivoted and went for the bench that they make, which is funny. It's like a more sustainably driven product, because the idea for the company is, why package all of this material if you're buying a couch, or wasting all this, money shipping on like this bulky stuff. Like basically we'll sell you the chair backs, and then you go out into the woods and find a downed tree and mount these chair backs on the trunk. So that's their design. And I thought that it would be really funny to just find a branch and then take dollhouse furniture and mount that to the branch. And there you go, mini Droog branch bench. Dufala rope. I think this is called rope and hose, but I called it Dufala rope because this is Steven, this is the thing that a lot of the things that we make does. And I feel like this is something that really kind of maybe on the edge of Trash Boutique versus like a Dufala brother object. I know Steven's just like, but anyway, Rope and Hose. That one's a great one. Small bunnies. I'm gonna take a drink. I feel like I've been talking nonstop. If anybody wants to be like, yo, ask me a question, feel free to just ask me a question.
Tell me about those bunnies, Billy.
Yo, I'm gonna tell you about those bunnies. This was an old. I'm piecing it together. Like when there's a clean out, you can kind of look at the trash, and you can kind of, through what's in the trash, you can kind of figure out whose stuff this belonged to. Sometimes you can get as far to like understand maybe their race or maybe their age, and you absolutely can tell where they live because their address is on things. But this was from an older woman in Northeast Philadelphia, and it was like with all of her belongings. And it was, I'm imagining this was a crafts project, that there was an envelope, and I didn't include it in it, and I didn't know how. And I thought that the bunnies just like this would be cool, but I found this envelope on the ground, and it just said tiny bunnies. And I opened up the envelope, and there was like 100 tiny bunnies, but with one, like matrix bunny, and that's the white pattern on the top left corner, which is the bunny that made all the other bunnies. And I thought that also was pretty hilarious, that all of these bunnies came from this one bunny. So float that in a frame and call it a day. And that's the small bunnies. But for me, I'm like, this is beautiful. This is like a style of Trash Boutique that is, there was a couple years ago, I found somebody's sugar packet collection, which is just amazing. Like, you're like, who the hell collects sugar packets? But Liza, yo, hey, it's a thing. I don't collect sugar packets, but now I might think about it. I do know that like matches for sure, but the sugar packet was a new one. But anyway, it's like these really these collections of things that like somebody cares about and took the time to curate and collect and aggregate. And we put all the sugar packets, just floated it in the frame, and that for me was just like beautiful. Same thing with like certain stamp collections. I think a couple years ago, it was a couple years ago, I found a stamp collection that was like an international stamp collection. So I like pulled all the stamps from all the travel ban countries, and I mounted them in this grid. And I thought that was like, it's a little dark. There's a little like, under the surface, a little subversive there, but it was also just a really beautiful collection of these stamps from all of these countries that had travel bans thrown on them. So that's that kind of that category of Trash Boutique. These the handmade or hand collected or cared for type things in multiples, and just really arranging them in a composition that is desirable, because somebody's going to look at it and be like, oh my God, what is up with that? So I did hold on to some of those bunnies, because I think I need to hold on to some of those bunnies. That's the small bunnies. Wah 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 wah. Yo, it's what it is. It's literally vintage Wawa milk crates, and I felt really, really terrible about destroying the milk crate, because it's probably some like Wawa buff that would be like, that's a 1968 Wawa. I'm totally making this up. There's no Wawa buff out there who'd want that. But anyway, it's funny. I know Wawa's regional. A lot of people outside the tri-state area are like, Wawa, what the hell is that? But for me, I've always known Wawa. Like growing up, that was like where you'd run to get a soda and some candy bars. And it's funny to think, I just never realized it's been around for that long. But this is like some pretty ancient milk crate from the Wawa franchise. Right back to that Smush and Smash Birdcage going with that kind of house and dollhouse theme, this is again, I feel like it will forever be appropriate in the context of rare because of the type of materials that we're dealing with on a regular basis. And anything that like embodies or is emblematic of lived space or the home or house, this is it will be something that, depending on how it looks, I'm definitely interested in. This one just was, it was too sad, but also really beautiful. And I knew that because it was a white bird cage. We had one of these actually, I think 2 years ago. As soon as you put that on a really clean, darker backdrop, it's gonna pop and it's gonna look super beautiful. Actually, I want to say, I think Lucia, I want to say that you were like, "Yo, put that on black," and I was just like, "Yo, that's gonna look really nice." And it, of course, it does. It's just in its own way. It's a beautiful object, and it's actually kind of big. It must have been a larger bird. Sorry, trying to find more things to talk about when it comes to the bird cage. Digiclock. I really don't. This is a reoccurring theme as well. Like taking the old. And you're probably not going to be able to see it, but over there you can kind of, right here. This is an old grandfather clock that up in the top. It's one of the first things when we built out this studio. I knew I wanted a clock that held the stereo unit. So I took this, old grandfather clock and put a stereo in it and put the digi clock up top. And I think from there, it was just whenever you find an old broken clock, grab it, because you can throw an old Spartus or an old whatever vintage digital alarm clock in it. And it's just a fun combination that kind of is just dumb. And that's why I love it. And every year we have had one of these. People get it. I usually do them up a little bit more when it comes to the face, or the finish on it. This one was actually kind of old, and I liked the actual the numbers the way they were, so I just kind of implanted it and made like a nice oak little frame. But again, going back to my love for Formica, we've done like total like face mounts of old Formica countertops, which in some ways have that's even better. And there will be more digiclocks in the future. Shipwreck, yep, it's the smush and the smash. But again, when you have one of these toy model boats that is just so detailed in its construction, you just kind of put it in between two pieces of wood and like that, and then spend the time gluing it back together. There's something really, again, sad and sorrowful, but beautiful in its kind of snapshot of the destruction of it. Merrill gloves. This is just like a send up to Merrill. This Merrill Ladder and Euclides. We've been working the project that Lucia has been leading. It's another Pew Center for Arts and Heritage grant that we got. Site to be seen. We have Merrill as our visioning artist in residence, and anybody who knows Merrill's work or went and saw her big retrospective at the Queens Museum, had the pleasure of seeing the big glove arches. Touch Sanitation was one of her, seminal pieces. Maintenance Art Manifesto. Anyway, Merrill is like an icon and a hero of mine and of Rare's. So finding these gloves that had been run over like 1,000 times on the scale, like right off of the scale in the front of Revolution Recovery. They were disgusting. I didn't think that they would look like much, but they were flattened. So going with that flattened and that smush motif that we always gravitate towards, grabbed them. And similar to with the print on the roof, just poured white latex over them. And they kind of become these ghost images, but with this really nice, I guess the thing about it, which caught my eye, was the gesture, because it kind of looks like the hand might be dropping something else into an open hand. And that, for me, that kind of transference or that like giving. It kind of looks like dropping something into an open hand, that kind of gift or exchange. I like that. So I did it up and poured white paint on it, and it looks really beautiful and ghostly. This right here, the HVAC return, this is just pure dumb, and I love it. And it's like, it's kind of one of those things where if you need like, you know, more hot air in your spare bedroom, you can just hang this there and pretend like it's happening, but it won't be. But I do love the patina on that old vent. It's an old object. I love old objects, and it's mounted on a dollhouse wall. And then I took that miniature dollhouse trim and trimmed out the frame. It's pretty cute. The cork quilt, again, going back to that cork sample and like the quilting, hearkening to all of these unfinished, handcrafted, handmade, traditional craft objects. It's kind of paying homage to that. For the love of trash, just had to. I make a lot of skulls. And I found all like a bag of bedazzle gems and some Halloween decorations. And they sat in a bag on a storage shelf for, I'd say, probably 3 years. And I was digging through it for something else. And I was just like, oh my God, that's so silly. Maybe I should just go ahead and do it. And I did it. And it's a total spoof. I like this more like the Spencer's Gifts version of Damien Hirst's For the Love of God. Or if like Hot Topic did a run of a crappy version of Damien Hirst, this is exactly what it would be. Maybe not, but I don't know. Purple. This is this weird. I'm sure everybody knows what purple mattresses are. There's a weird thing about it. I don't want to like talk too much trash on purple, but I know if you don't like the mattress, you can return it for your money back. But they come in these airtight like sausages, and there's no way you can actually put it back into the bag. And I think that one of their loopholes is if you send it to a recycling center, that's just as good as sending it back to manufacturer. When in fact, it's actually just getting buried in landfill because there's no mattress recycling in this region, as far as I know. And this isn't even mattress. This is like space age, like jelly foam stuff, but it's weird material. Anyway, found a purple mattress, cut it open because I was interested. And it's just this really odd, dense material that has quite a remarkable jiggle to it. And it's kind of gross, but because of that grid, it kind of ascend up to like op art. I had it just like, I put a bucket under it in the studio, and I was kind of just like, oh, that's stupid. And Lucia walks in, she's like, oh, that's cool. And I was just like, really? And she's like, yeah. So I spent some more time. I should say there's a lot of things that didn't make the cut for a trash boutique, and things from like 3 years ago that I revisited and was like, oh, this makes sense. But this was, thank you, Lucia, for the save on this one. I wasn't super stoked about it until you were, and then I spent the time to make a frame and make sure that it looked cool and was in situ and hangable. So that's the purple. Golden Goose is really, I think from the very first trash boutique, we had a ceramic goose. And one of the things we always find is like, gobs and gobs of costume jewelry and goofy clean outs where you just find all this janky gold. And I like literally in like, they're over by the chop saw in the studio, there's like drywall screws, there's fuses, there's rubber stoppers, and then there's a drawer full of gold. So like we're always pulling it because every year we wait until we find a goose, or I mean, we're pretty loose on it. I think we used a duck one year, but the idea is to adorn that. From the very beginning, it was blinging out this goose, and it became a rare staple. And every year since 2014, we've had a golden goose. So this is the seventh golden goose that Rare has made available. But holy moly! I hope I didn't talk your ear off too much. I'm gonna stop screen sharing. That's the Trash Boutique. That's how we do. Wow, there's still a lot of people here.
Ooh.
That's really all I. There you go. Get the music in there. Could everybody hear the music while I was talking? Oh man. Well, I guess it gets cut off when you do the screen share. That's. I mean, I know we're already at the end of the formal event, and that was the informal event. I guess it's just hanging out, listening to the rest of the DJ Lengua mix. Or if anybody wants to just